the Alabama Attorney General's office says the city of Montgomery owes the state $25,000 for changing the name of a street that held the name of a Confederate president. In a letter to the city, Alabama Attorney General's office said the city violated a 2017 state law protecting Confederate monuments and other long-standing memorials. Last month, Montgomery city leaders renamed Jeff Davis Avenue for longtime civil rights attorney Fred Gray, who represented Rosa Parks, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and others. Now, of course, there was a major ceremony that took place in the renaming of this. It was a pretty big deal in Montgomery, but your Republican lawmakers, they have been staunch defenders of racist Confederates in that state. Joining us right now is Mayor Stephen Reed. Mayor, glad to have you back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Same thing happened in Montgomery, where they find the city there when Mayor Randall Woodfin took down a major Confederate statue. What's quite interesting, Republicans love talking about local control, yet they don't want local control when it comes to what you do in your state, in your city, when it comes to Confederate monuments.
Absolutely, Roland. Thanks so much for having me. You're exactly right. You know, the hypocrisy, once again, is being shown, I think, by the actions taken by the state in this case. Republicans like to speak about home rule. They like to speak about the power of local government, and they like to speak about why they don't like federal government overreach. But yet at the same time, you see them doing that from state legislatures all around this country when it comes to cities, in particular cities that are majority-minority cities. And this is one of those instances where we knew it was the right thing to do, to take down the name of Jeff Davis Avenue and rename it after attorney Fred D. Gray. And we're proud to do that. And, you know, no case or no fine is going to stop us from moving forward, because there are also other things that we have to reevaluate, whether it be the other names of other streets, parks, or other entities that are named after Confederate soldiers and leaders that just don't fit where we are right now as a city and should have never been honored in that way in the first place.
Well, again, you know, this was a move by Republicans in that state. They have been staunch defenders of the Confederacy. I mean, Alabama still has a Jeff Davis holiday. And so what's interesting is that they want to tell these majority black cities what they can and cannot do.
You're absolutely right. And I think, you know, what we're trying to do as mayors is, you know, push our vision for a new Montgomery, or in Mayor Woodfin's case, a new Birmingham, forward. And really we want to turn the page on the past. And this is part of it. Look, I'm the first one to say that symbols, you know, matter, but systems matter more. And so this is part of what I've been trying to do in the 2 years that I've been elected as mayor here in this city. We worked on the systems. We continue to work to improve those and dismantle those that have been oppressive to many residents in this community. But we also know that we've got to change the perception of those that are living in this community, those that visit this community. And when you're in a place that the Equal Justice Initiative calls home, and you have the Memorial for Peace and Justice and the Legacy Museum, it's incumbent upon us as city leaders to make sure that we're forward-facing in terms of how we want the city of Montgomery to be viewed and how we want to project ourselves both internally to our residents as well as externally to investors, tourists, and other community partners, that we are really moving forward and we are really building toward a better future.
Well, and the point there is a critical one, because, again, these Republicans in your state, they want to stay in the past where you're talking about moving it forward. And why shouldn't the residents of the city decide who they're going to honor, as opposed to white Republicans in Alabama trying to honor these old racist white relics who lost?
You know, listen, I think it's one of those cases where this was a reactionary measure that was taken after, you know, cities like New Orleans and others around the South in particular started taking down statues and started changing names in a reflection point of where we were as a nation. And you saw this overreaching law come out and say not only did it apply to statues, but it applies to other monuments as well. Applies potentially to schools. Does it apply to streets? And those are things that we're questioning from our standpoint is, where does it stop and where does home rule begin? And that's what we can't quite figure out because the rules keep changing without legislatures really making laws like this on the fly, based on emotion, and not really based on the true concept of law as it should be applied to municipalities or to states themselves when it comes to issues such as this.
So is it a one-time fine or is it a recurring fine?
It is a one-time fine, but the concern here is, as I mentioned, we've got 2 high schools, one named after Robert E. Lee, one named after Jefferson Davis, where I graduated high school from, that are right now being reviewed by members of the community to have those names changed. So the question is, are they going to be fined as well? We also put together a street renaming committee made up of our longtime state archivist here, Dr. Ed Bridges and many others, Dr. Howard Robinson, the archivist at Alabama State University, to really look at the names of streets, parks, and other entities. And they've come up with suggestions that are at least more than 10 that also should be renamed. So the concern that we have is, if we're fined on this case, can we pay it? Yes, we've had donors from in the city, in the state, and out of state offer to pay the fine at no expense of taxpayer dollars or no expense to the taxpayer itself. However, the question is, if we're really going about correcting the record, as I like to call it, and we move forward, and I plan to do so, with changing the names of other streets and parks and other facilities, then those fines do start to pick up. Those fines do start to add up. And the question becomes, are we better off challenging what the state has done? Dr. King once said law and order exists for the purpose of establishing justice. And when they fail to do so, they become dangerously structured dams that prevent the social progress. And that's really what we have to think about from our end here at the city is, where do you start and where do you stop where this is concerned? Can we pay the $25,000? Yes. But I think the bigger issue is, do we need to make a statement as it relates to legislative overreach coming from conservative state legislatures and what they are doing, in particular as it relates to cities and urban communities, not only here in Alabama, but throughout the state and throughout this nation.
But again, you've renamed it. They're going to fine you. They can't force you to return it back to Jeff Davis Avenue, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, fine. Give them the damn money. All right, all right, fine. What else to take down? Okay. Mayor Stephen Reed, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Hey, always good joining you, Roland. Thanks so much. Keep up the great work.
I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. All right, folks, back to that Roland Martin unfiltered video in just one moment.
Once upon a time, there lived a princess with really long hair who was waiting for a prince to come save her. But really, who has time for that?
Let's go. Feeling myself. I'm feeling
She ordered herself a ladder with Prime one-day delivery, and she was out of there.
I want some hood girls looking back at it and a good girl in my tax bracket.
Now, her hairdressing empire is killing it. And the prince? Well, who cares? Prime changes everything.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?